Hi, I'm Casey LaBow. Well, I play Kate Denali. She's part of the Denali coven, which is they're sort of cousins for all intents and purposes of the Cullen family, which is obviously the main family. And we are, as well as the Cullens, vegetarian vampires. We feed off of animals instead of humans to survive. My character has a special ability, which is she can run an electrical current over her skin, and basically it's like a taser. And I actually end up finding a mate in my character's story arc. It's a mate, and I end up sort of becoming an integral part of the, how do I say this without giving away too much, of the battle that the Cullens face in the story. It was very intimidating initially, but there were so many people, so many new actors in this one, and because we were shooting both of the films back to back, we were basically all there for quite a long time. And initially it was, something that everybody had to get used to, both the newbies and the oldies. But after a while, everybody started to warm up to each other, and we started all hang out together, and it was a challenge, but it ended up being a lovely, lovely experience. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure. It's a much different environment than when you're like on an indie film, like with Skateland, for instance, or with A Year in Mooring. I mean, it's a machine, and there's so many parts to the machine, and you've got the special effects guys and the director and the DP and the sound and everybody that may or may not be on an indie film. That it's just the pressure is it's more all-encompassing. You can sort of feel it in the air. A Year in Mooring is a really, really sort of very beautiful, poetic film about a man who has a very intense tragedy happen in his life. And in order to cope, he goes and, sort of leaves everything behind and buys a boat and a mooring yard and lives on it for a year. So it's a pun, Year in Mooring. And through his year-long journey, he meets all these different people that have, that serve very different purposes in his growth and his sort of overcoming his sadness. And I am one of those people. I play a grocery store clerk named Lauren, and I end up going and he saves me. The main character is Josh Lucas, and he ends up sort of saving me from a bad relationship, and I end up living on his boat with him for a period of time. I feel like everything comes to you at a certain time and for a certain purpose, especially as an actor, because you have such an experience in terms of like growing into the character and getting to know the character and exercising and having the catharsis that you have as your own person, as well as being the character and having their catharsis. I think that A Year in Mooring, that script was just so beautiful, and I was desperate. I did everything that I could, and obviously got it. But with Twilight, we weren't allowed to read the script, so that was more of something that just happened, I happened to fit into what they were looking for, and obviously Twilight is a major, huge thing, and it's sort of pop culture history, really. It's like being part of Star Wars or something, you don't really say no to that. they're so different, but I think that on a big production like Twilight, unless you're, the top 3 or whatever, you're very much a small piece into a very giant puzzle. Whereas with the indie stuff, you're there because it's very important to the story. I mean, not that I wasn't important to the Twilight story, but it's just so different. But I think that I can take from the Twilight experience into the indie stuff, hopefully that I do another indie, just that it's so important to make sure that, you are serving the purpose of the film as a whole. My first audition. I can't even think of it right now. See, the thing is that I sort of did like some sort of auditioning, and then I went to theater school, and then I got out and I did major auditioning. I will tell you, I have, I guess, the one that sticks out in my mind is right before I graduated from theater school, I went out for this commercial to play Eve in the Garden of Eden for this Dutch insurance company that they kind of have this Geico-like thing where they have, it's very competitive, just the commercials. And I ended up getting the part, and we filmed it in the middle of the rainforest in Costa Rica. But the audition, I had to be in a bikini, running around pretending to be Eve in the Garden of Eden, and that was the first time I was like, oh lordy, like, I'm in a bikini right now, walking, like floating around like a sterile room, having to pretend like there's butterflies landing on me and snakes and rabbits and, and there's this Dutch guy sort of screaming at me like, okay, now, pretend there is a white horse coming and you are petting it and there is a waterfall. And I was like, that was kind of one of my first, it was an audition memory that will go down in history. There is, and that short film Skip Rocks, we got I guess what was like an endowment out of a small little kind of competition for shorts in New York, and ended up winning. Well, we had to share it. We tied with somebody, but that was, and there's a script, there's a feature-length script that goes with that short, and the person that I was partnered with on it recently graduated from Columbia Film School. So, and there's other things that I have that are behind the camera that are certainly bubbling and brewing in a cauldron somewhere. Nothing I'm going to share yet. I, from a very young age, was very insistent upon what I would wear and for how many days in a row I would wear it. I had, a Minnie Mouse dress that my mother just would literally try to bribe me to take off when I was younger. And prop plane. I ended up actually spending some time going to fashion school, FITM, right after high school. I kind of thought that's what I wanted to do, and didn't find my voice there. Wasn't happy there, and but it's something that I don't think it's like the most important thing in the world, but I think it's a lovely way of personal expression, and who doesn't, like to feel good and feel nice in what they're wearing, A hat, my rings, and if it's appropriate, a good pair of heels, because the higher the heel, the better you feel. That I work a lot harder when it's on something that I'm super passionate about. Which is naughty. I should be giving every single thing my all, but sometimes I find that if something comes my way, an audition or some material, and I really identify with it, or I really, really want to do it, it will become, I can't sleep at night over it, until I've wrapped my head around it fully and sort of dove in as deep as I could. Don't give up. I guess I've heard that quite a few times. This is a very, very difficult business, and there are so many people that come to Los Angeles or Hollywood, be it New York or here, Hollywood, that think that they can make it, that it's kind of like the embodiment of the American dream, it's just, you hit it big and the rest is history. And because of there being so many people that are trying to attain the same goal, you really have to you can't give up if it's meant to be and you believe in it and believe in yourself.